what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices from the Mausoleum, and welcome back to Remakes, which I have now also subtitled and continuations.
In a shameless way to cover more movies we like.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
With my co-host, Scott from the You Run podcast.
Hello.
Hello. I literally just saw this an hour ago. So
it's fresh for you then.
Yeah, it's very fresh. I am glad that I will say this though, I'm glad I waited because I went in the morning for me, and there was like nobody in the theater. So it was kind of nice. There was like a couple people, but it wasn't very many. Which was I love. I wish like no one went to do the things that I want to go to. So this was it was nice to go see this, and there was like not very many people in there.
Yeah, I watched it twice. So I went in and watched it the first time. I came outside, I sat down and went, I'm so undecided, and I need to give this, being a sequel to such a cornerstone of horror, I needed to give it a second watch to give it a fair shake of the stick.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it now, I didn't like it.
Okay. But that doesn't mean you hated it? Like, where's like...
Parts of this are really good.
Mm-hmm.
The two actresses who play Catherine and Angela are fabulous. Their performances are outstanding.
Yeah.
Everything else just felt like what it felt like to me. It felt like they were going through like a tick list of possession horror movie tropes, and it was like, we need to do this one, tick. What one's next? Let's do that one, tick.
Yeah.
It kind of felt very much like they were going through the motions. And Chris McNeil added nothing. She was such a wasted character.
Yeah. She's nostalgia. That was her purpose, right?
Yeah, the movie played out exactly the same whether she was there or not. It's a little bit like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. It doesn't matter if Indiana Jones is there, that still ends the same. That's kind of how I felt about her.
Yeah.
It was not a bad movie. Possession movies are I don't know how many people who watch our shows together know possession movies are my pinnacle. This is what I hunt out and I seek, and these are the movies I like. And when I hold this against like The Exorcism of Emily Rose or Possession of Hannah Grace, this isn't even it's not even in the same league as those movies. And I think that's why I struggle with it, because it should be. It's a sequel to one of the greatest possession movies ever made. And yeah, I kind of sit with the critics on this. I just feel that they just handled it badly. You loved it, didn't you? I can see it in your eyes. You're like, yeah, I listened to everything you say and I completely disagree.
Well, to be fair, I don't technically disagree with everything you said. I really did enjoy it though. But I think there are specific things that this did that no matter what film these things are in automatically makes me like them more. So, I agree that the actresses that played the little girls did a fantastic job. I also really liked the guy that played Angela's dad, Victor. I thought he was great. I was invested in him and this like emotional journey that he goes through, and I was in it for that. I definitely agree that Chris was a bit wasted. I thought she was going to kind of be this like kick-ass, like helpful character, and then as soon as we get her in a moment where she has the opportunity, she's like put out of the game. And so that was like kind of disappointing. I also feel that this was a lot like plot wise, like what's going to happen next was fairly predictable, which I think kind of ties into what you were saying about it hits all the tropes. So there was like no surprises really. It was like, and I think the biggest surprise, and this was a huge mistake, they never should have put in the trailer that it was going to tell them to pick between the girls. They should have never put that in the trailer. That was a huge mistake, because I think that would have hit very different on a first watch if I had not known that was already going to come up, because one, I already knew it was going to come up and I pretty much knew what was going to happen. So I think
I think they made it even worse that in the trailer, it even says the devil played a trick on you.
Yes, it
So
was.
when
Yeah, so it
it
took
got to
all of
that point,
that.
and I was like, ah, I know exactly where this is going.
Yeah,
Thanks.
me too. And
Um,
then you know what kills me the most? Okay, so I'm not a religious person. I feel like that's come up before, and I really like when things that have to do with like my favorite types of possession films are ones that battle with the concept of like why this belief system should be questioned, or like you have the people who are supposed to believe but they don't. Like I like stuff like that, that push and pull of like is it isn't it. But like for me, I did like that this didn't make the dad necessarily like a believer. Like so he believed in something, but it wasn't, to me at least, my interpretation I guess as a non-believer, was the thing that he believed in was that they could get through this, that his daughter was still in there and he could do this to bring her out. And I don't necessarily think that that has anything to do with faith and religion, organized religion specifically. So I really liked that. And I also really liked the other cultural side of things where they added, it wasn't just like Catholicism. There was like
no,
another layer there, which I also really liked.
yeah,
Because
I
that,
really liked that. The only
yeah,
problem I found with that is I found that they didn't give enough focus to both. It was like they really focused on the Catholic Christian element of
yeah,
it, and the Haitian element of it was almost like a subplot. And when they bring them together at the end, the
hmm,
only one who actually does anything quite
is
significant is the Haitian
woman. Hmm,
priestess, or whatever you
hmm,
want to call her. But
hmm,
I kind of felt that I kind of felt that they were just like, we need to be as PC as we can. We need to have more in here, and they done it so clunky. There was no
yeah,
finesse in how they brought that in, and I've got no issue with them being. There could have been 11 different faiths there
hmm,
conducting that exorcism, but all of those faiths need to get the same amount of build up and the same amount of background to
hmm,
make them all work. It's the same as like the dad not having faith. I
hmm,
got that. I'm a non believer myself. I was fully on board,
hmm.
but he doesn't believe. And then all of a sudden, he's fully in for a multi religion exorcism in his home. He's like, yeah, let's do it. At what
Yeah.
point did he take that leap where he's like, do you know what? I don't believe in any of this at all, but I'm going to let you do it. I found it so hard to digest that he was like so against it, and then he saw a couple of freaky things. He's like, "Yeah, let's do it." I, I
Yeah, and
kind, I
the
kind of
thing that
wanted him to keep pushing the mental health. I wanted him to be pushing the "we need a doctor here," and him kind of be forced into it, as opposed to him just go willingly.
and I guess I bought into it more because I felt like they had spent so much time doing like the first part of it before they bring both of them to the house. They spent the time in the, you know, in the hospital, the regular hospital, and then in the mental hospital. And it's like, you know, it's very similar formula obviously to like the original Exorcist, you know, oh, like they
Yeah,
did the shock treatment, that didn't work, it made it worse. So but I think I bought more into it just because like this definitely got me in my parent like feelings, because there are things that like I just like were really like hit me just completely different because I'm a parent. And I feel like that was one of them. Like I bought into that more because I think I would be more willing to buy into something just to try it if it meant maybe saving my kid, or if it meant maybe, because to me at that point, I mean, we only had what, like 30 minutes left of the movie, maybe 40, and they had already done the medical stuff and it really wasn't working. And it was
yeah,
like, well, I don't really believe in any of it, but if we try all of it, maybe something will work and I can get my daughter back. Like I felt like that worked for me because I bought into that, as far as like I would do anything to help my kid. And he's
yeah,
already, you know, he'd already lost the wife and like that whole thing. So I don't know. I bought into that a little bit more than you.
yeah. And I think they do a good job of kind of preying on parental worries, because like the bit where the girls go missing and the dad is frantically searching. I like the fact they show the two different parenting styles. You've got one parenting style that is, it's okay, Jesus will find our child, let's put up a couple of posters. Then you've got the rational parent who is,
Going to the homeless shelters, going
yeah,
in the woods. Yeah,
going, yeah, he's the one who's doing everything that I think as a parent you would do.
1,000%.
And then I like the fact that they made the contrast that you have got this incredibly religious family who are relying on the power of prayer, and there's a bit where these two parents cross, and the religious dad's like, just pins up a poster, and it's almost outside his house. He kind of walks up the road and goes in, and the other dad is looking at him like, "Are you for real? Are you actually for real?"
Yeah.
I like that they do a good job. The opening hour of this is really good. All of the setup is great.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it only started to fall apart when they brought Chris McNeil in. And don't get me wrong, she needed to be there. I just think they didn't bring her in necessarily in the right way. And then when they got her, they just squandered her. I was like, why did you do that? And then she spends the rest of the movie sat in a hospital bed like Neo from The Matrix with her eyes all bandaged up. And, and the bit where she does the like this with the hands, like, I can feel you. It's like, what are you doing? Who wrote this?
I also liked this. Also made this feel very real to me. Was they didn't shy away from the questions that we ask when children come back from being missed, like or from being missing rather. So like, you know, they had these very young girls put their feet in stirrups and have to test for like sexual assault and these things.
Yeah.
And that was like, I mean, I don't have a daughter, but either way, like it was just one of those things where it was just like, that was almost too real, because it was like that was, they had to weigh that. They're talking about, oh, when they go through traumatic injuries, when bad things happen, sometimes they get this temporary, like they're going through all of these things that can happen when people go missing and then they come back, especially with them being so young. And it was just like, oh, like I thought that part was just so, that felt so realistic, that chaos of asking all these questions, trying to get all these answers, doing all these tests, taking all these pictures, all these things. Like,
yeah, I mean, all of that bit I think is great. It's the second half and the bit that really bugged me. So I'm a big fan of possession movies. Possession takes stage in 4 parts. You get infestation. Well, no, before you get infestation, you get influence, then infestation, then the behavior changes, and then you get a manifestation of the demon within the person. And then you have the exorcism, which either goes well and the person survives, or it goes badly and they die. They missed the 2 bits. They went off into the woods and they come back possessed. And the bit where we see them go from normal girls to demons happens in like 2 scenes. You get like,
it's fast.
A scene where she scares her dad in the bathroom, and then the next minute she's full on like possessed. And the bit I love about like the original Exorcist is that build up. We get
it is slower. Yeah.
She's really nice. She's a happy girl. Then we get the Captain Howdy stuff. Then after the Captain Howdy stuff, we start getting slight behavior changes. And then it takes big leaps in behavior changes. And then we get the medical stuff, where this, they kind of, I don't know. I feel like they just cherry picked what they wanted to use and didn't follow through with everything. And again, it's because it's part of a trilogy. And this is the problem when you advertise that you're making a trilogy. I know this isn't the full story. So I'm already frustrated that things I know they've done in this, like bringing Chris McNeil in and not using her to her full potential. Maybe they're going to use her to her full potential in the next movie. Not thrashing out what happened afterwards properly, because that's where they're going to start their next movie, which I'm assuming is The Exorcist kills, Pazuzu dies tonight.
Oh no. Well, if it's anything like that trilogy, I'm going to love the next one, because Kills is so fun for me. I loved Kills. I think there was part of the problem is, you know, there's so much that they put into this that I don't think necessarily needed to be there. And then that took away from the timeline, like what you're saying of like, they had to move quickly because they had all these things they wanted to fit in, instead of just picking and choosing specific things that worked for just this story and then making the timeline slower, make more sense. Like, you know, I think the pacing was a little weird, but I think the reason that I ended up really liking it so much was I think it was a lot easier to watch this as just a possession film than an Exorcist possession film, because I do think the two are different. I don't think it's the same thing. And I think if this had not been an Exorcist movie, like if you took out the the Chris parts, if you took out the mention of all the stuff that happened with Reagan, I think this could be just a possession film, and it felt different for me in that regard, because I was just watching a possession film and I thought some of the stuff was really cool.
And some of the characters in this are fabulous. So the woman who plays his next door neighbor, I think she's a fabulous actress. She's in
great.
The Handmaid's Tale. She plays Aunt Lydia throughout that, and she plays really nasty character who actually cares really well. And that's what she does in The Handmaid's Tale. She plays a character who's horrible and vile, but genuinely cares about what's going on. And she does that in this movie.
Yeah.
And I like her story. I like how they developed her. The priest was the biggest waste of a character I've ever seen in a movie.
Agreed.
I love it that they spend like a good 40 minutes going, do not touch the girls. Whatever you do, don't touch the girls.
And that's the first thing he does when he comes in there.
He busts in the door like he's like raiding the place. And he walks in, he's like, hands on the head. And he's got like his cloth and his hands on the head. And he starts doing the right. And then one of the girls just went like that slightly. I went, oh, you really shouldn't have touched him. This is not ending well for you.
Yeah.
And that I liked. That was cool.
I think it's like the premise of him coming in. I think I liked what I think it was supposed to feel, because the music has changed. You're like, yay, we're going to win. And then it's like, and it just pulls that like hope, right? You're like, or not, that's cool. You know, but I do think it was, the execution was a little flawed, because he definitely I did like the part where he's like sitting in the car doing all that stuff and the dad tops and then he's like, the fight's inside. Like some of those little moments where they weren't really they were kind of cheesy, but I really liked them anyway. That was one of them where he's like, the fight's inside, and he just like walks off. I really liked that. It's so stupid, but it was like, I really liked that he said that. But yeah,
there's so many good moments in this. This movie had so much potential to be so much more than it was. And an edit here and a change there, and giving both faiths and both religions an equal showing, and also both girls. So we follow Angela pretty much all the way through. And Catherine's going through the same, and she doesn't get an even stake in it. So when we get to the end, I'm more invested in Angela than I am in Catherine. And I'm not invested in her family because her parents are assholes.
Yeah.
And I kind of like, well, I don't want you to survive. And that isn't the feeling I think that I should have had. It should have been oh God, I don't want either of them to die. But I genuinely was like, well, you can die and Angela will survive, and that's fine.
Yeah, especially considering, because the way I interpreted this is that Catherine gets taken to hell.
Yeah.
So and I'll tell you this, if I was Victor, if I was Angela's dad, that man better not ever be anywhere in my line of sight ever again. I think Victor knew. I kind of got this impression that like Victor wasn't an idiot. He knew, he was like, no, we're not picking, like, we're not doing that, because the religious ones, the ones that are indoctrinating their children and talking about this shit and going to church every Sunday, are the ones that fell for it. I was like, what? Like, come on. Like, you're taught how often that everything that these things say is supposed to be untrue. Like, what are you doing with your life right now? And then it's like, Victor's got the mom's scarf and he's like, we love you so much. I know you're in there. We love you. We want you. I want you to come out of this, like all these things. And their daughter's like, what about me?
Yeah. And they do a really good job of showing that having faith in a religion isn't necessarily the best way. Having faith in your family and your friends, and having faith in a group of, they even say that Chris McNeil says that the exorcism rite is done in every religion around the world. And the one unifying factor is it's about people. It's not about the religions, and that I really liked. And
I loved that part.
I love a good beating on the Catholic Church. I was raised Catholic.
I
love a good bashing on the Catholic Church, and I stand in a very good, knowledgeable position to do it.
Yeah.
I find it insane that the family would be duped that easily, because you are literally drummed into you. Demons lie, the devil lies.
Yes.
He is the world's greatest deceiver. Anything he tells you, it's the opposite.
Yeah, and I couldn't get into the whole, like, I thought about this too because I was like, well, maybe the angle was supposed to be, and this didn't land, but I wonder if this was supposed to be the logic is that one of them dying was bad enough that it had to be. But the thing is like they never said what would actually happen, just that a choice had to be made and that one wouldn't make it. But it wasn't a, well, the one that you say is, you know what I mean? There was never this
Yeah.
like, so when he called it out, I was like, you son of a bitch. I was like, you would mess up this whole thing. That was so like, I was just, you know.
Yeah. There's a real stretch calling this movie The Exorcist, where there is not actually an exorcist in it as well.
That's true, I guess.
There's no. I was so all the way through. I was waiting. So the church say no, you can't do the exorcism. Okay,
Yeah,
fine. Yeah, okay, I get it. You're going to try and do a homemade exorcism. You can all work
sure.
together. Great,
Yeah.
fully on board for that. But
Mm-hmm.
you need, if you believe in the Catholic exorcism, in fact, you need two priests to conduct the exorcism
Yeah,
rites,
right.
and they take alternative turns.
Yeah.
And the bit where she goes, well, I am a woman of the cloth. I don't give a shit. In the Catholic religion, you can be whatever you want of the cloth. Unless you're an ordained priest given the power to exorcise demons, you can't do shit. And it
Yeah.
really, because I know those teachings, it really grated on me. I was like, I get what you're doing, but you need to. The people who worked on this movie and researched this movie,
Mhm.
research harder, man. Come on.
Yeah, there were those weird plugs for like damn the man kind of stuff. Cause there's like, cause Chris has that line where she was like, oh, I wasn't part of their patriarchy. It's like, but yeah, that's like how that works. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm all for like, I mean, I don't believe in that either. I think you can do whatever I don't like, well, I don't believe in that anyway, because I'm not Catholic, but like I
No.
get the message, I get the point. But when you're talking about something that's just not how it works, it's just not how it works. So those
Yeah.
underlying like feminist things, like they didn't make sense in this thing because that's not going to change. And then the other thing too is like I think the actress that played her was great. I can't remember her name. I remember the nun, her name she was going to change to is Mary, but I can't remember what her real name, her main character name
No.
was. But anyway, but when she goes in there, she already knows that they know about her abortion. They already
Yeah.
know like all of this. So when she goes in and they say one thing and she like suddenly can't handle it, I was like, this is not as bad as that girl bleeding in the hospital after
No.
she calls you scraped like a pumpkin. Like, what are you so upset about right now?
Yeah. And the worst bit is like if you believe in the Catholic faith, the priest can effectively ordain someone to have the same abilities as him. Effectively,
Oh,
if you believe, so that priest could have given her a blessing and basically put. It sounds like a magic spell, but passed the power to her. In that faith, you can give someone the power to cast out a demon.
I gotcha.
So that could have happened in a quick 2-minute scene, but again, they can't do that because that's the man giving the woman power. They tried to do
Yeah.
lots of things in this to tick lots of boxes for lots of different people,
Yeah.
and I think in doing that, they made it not as factually correct, and they didn't give an even like the Haitian religion. I don't know what religion that is, but the fact that that was like a subplot and almost treated like a second-rate character
Mm-hmm.
really pissed me off, because that is the more interesting religion to play with here. We've done
Totally
a
agree.
billion Catholicism exorcism movies. There are fucking hundreds.
Yeah.
Give me get rid of the priest, get rid of the nun, have the Haitian lady do it, have her doing, I don't know,
Yeah.
whatever religion it is, and doing some cool shit we've not seen before.
Yeah. Well, and I would, yeah. And if it had not been treated that way, then all of that time we spent in the morning watching that, or in the morning, in the beginning, what am I saying? I'm tired.
Yeah.
In the beginning of the movie, Jesus, when she goes to, when we see her when she's pregnant with Angela and she goes
Yeah.
and gets the blessing, like the tie-in for that, the setup for the tie-in for that was perfect.
Yeah.
But then and then I will say this too. I thought this was so silly. He like walks in his home, his daughter's missing. There's just like people in his house lighting candles and doing shit. I was like, what is happening right now? I did not care. That part was so silly. I was like, what is
Yeah, again, it just felt like they kind of tried to force it into a movie it didn't work in, but they could have made it work by not having the nun as the neighbor, having the Haitian lady as the neighbor,
Mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden that works better. Then maybe bring the Catholic Church in and make them the subplot, because they've been the main plot for exorcism movies since the 1970s. Let's let another religion have a go.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's not a bad movie. It's a bad exorcism movie. And
Yeah, see,
it's a bad exorcism movie, and it's a bad sequel to The Exorcist. That's my problem with it.
yeah, I mean, I think that I think that the potential, I don't know that it's, we'll see what the next one is, I guess, but I think it did have more potential than it reached, but I still really liked it. But again, I think it's because I mostly just watched it as like just a possession film, and there was enough for me at least that was unique compared to other possession films, because like that was my biggest complaint with the Pope's Exorcist. Seen it, seen it, seen it, seen it, seen it. It's the same shit over and over again. There's so many more things you can do with the concept of a spiritual takeover of a human body. Like there's so much more to do. So there was a lot that was in this that I really liked. There was the stuff with the going missing and the way they treated them when they came back. I really liked. I loved Victor's character. I was in those family like parent feelings. I was there for it. I liked that there was two versus just one. Like there were things in this that worked for me.
Yeah.
But I think they work as a generic possession film, you know?
Yeah, and I think with all those bits that work, they had the bones to something very, very good.
Yeah.
And if they'd have done, so you've got the two girls, you need to make a choice. If they'd have made a choice, and the demon, instead of just killing that child and just going, because the demon just went.
Mm-hmm.
How about that? They kill one, it goes into the other one, and she goes full Exorcist. Let's go climb, spider walk, climb the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
Let's up the ante a bit. Or the demon that was possessing that child then possessed one of the parents.
Mm-hmm.
It jumped from the child to the parent who made the choice, and we have an adult possessed.
Yeah.
There's so much. All exorcism movies fall into the same trope of let's possess a child because people care about children, and let's make the exorcism really traumatic. Possess an adult. And a movie that's done a good possessed adult that you really get invested in is Constantine.
Yeah.
Do that. I want to see someone pull a demon out into a mirror.
Yeah. I also thought The Rite was pretty unique in that regard too, with Anthony Hopkins.
Yes.
That one was another one that I felt like did that because it was, which kind of felt like what they were trying to do with the Pope's Exorcist, but it's already been done. So it wasn't anywhere near as effective. And Anthony Hopkins is, superior. But anyway, it was just, that would be great to see something different. And that's the thing with any possession film is everything is so saturated with the same stuff over and over and over again. And this did have enough unique for me that I was able to watch it as just a possession film and still really enjoy it. We haven't talked about the obvious thing at the very end. Are we not talking about it on purpose? Or are we waiting?
I think we can talk about it, but I think we just need to say if this has been spoiled if you've watched this far anyway, but there's a big spoiler at the very end.
So if you don't want to know what that is, maybe.
Yeah, thanks for watching.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did you feel about this?
Well, I knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
I knew it was going to happen. I felt like the story for why Reagan wasn't around was a cop out and was bullshit. I didn't buy into it at all. We've seen what those two have been through together. No, I didn't buy into that at all. And then we kept getting these glimpses of her in the hospital. I'm like, at first I was like, I wonder if something's going to happen with like some weird transference thing and she's going to be the one possessed, which probably would have been a cooler route to be honest, but that wasn't what happened. And then we see her and I'm like, that bitch, her daughter's about to walk through that door. And so when that happened, I'm not going to lie to you, because I'm a fan of the original so much, it did get me emotional, but it still is such a nostalgia point of like, you only did that because you knew it was going to make people go, oh my God. And how they kept that shit under wraps, I'm actually kind of amazed, because they did a really good job of not letting anyone know that Linda Blair was going to be in this movie.
Yeah. The thing is, though, it was a cheap pop to get people to go and watch the second one. And I can I can get on board with things like that, and it was cool to see her back.
Yeah.
But take the Chris McNeil scene where she walks up into the bedroom and she goes, "We've met before." Chris McNeil, you didn't meet a demon ever. You were kicked out of the room before you even got to see what was going on.
Yeah.
Now replace Chris McNeil with Reagan and have Reagan walk in that room. That scene is fire. Reagan walks in there and goes, "We've met before and I've beaten you before." That changes the whole dynamic of the second half of this movie.
Yeah. But they saved it for the last second, exactly like why you said, because now they want people invested in the next one. And it works for a second. The emotional thing was like, oh my God, but then it wears off because then you're like, y'all did that shit on purpose.
Yeah, and we now know in the second one there's obviously going to be a head-to-head with Reagan and the demon, but the demon's gone now, so I don't understand how they're bringing the demon back.
Yeah.
I don't understand who it's going to possess. I don't know. I kind of feel that they fumbled this a little bit. It's not a bad movie, but I don't think it's what they wanted it to be. And the fact it's only taken 60 million and cost them upwards of $240 million, including buying the rights, is they need to do another $200 million to break even. I think, I'll be honest, I think they're going to sack David Gordon Green and we're going to get the next one with a new director.
Yeah. I keep seeing these posts about that too, that like he's not going to but I think they're all just opinions or whatever at this point, but I've seen a lot of people say that or something similar to that.
Yeah, bring in, I don't know, Brian Fuller. Let Brian Fuller direct the next one.
Who is that? I don't know who that is.
He done the Hannibal TV series.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, bring him in. In fact, there's so many directors who could do something with this. Bring in a director who's got the balls to do something different. In, I can't think of the name of the woman who wrote and directed Malignant.
Mm-hmm.
Bring her in, because Malignant's a terrible movie. But my God, she's got some wild ideas and she's not afraid to just run with them. Let her have a stab at an exorcism movie.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. I went away feeling like when I first come out, I was like, oh, I really enjoyed that. And then I sat there and went, did I? No, there's lots of that I didn't like. And then I went back in and it was on a second watch that I'm going, that's really cool, but I've seen it before. Or that's really cool, but you didn't do that how you should have done that.
Mm-hmm.
And with like, did you see, where they do like the flash cuts and you see like Pazuzu's face pop up? So like in the original, when that happens, that's like a blink and you miss it. In this, like Pazuzu pops on the screen and it's almost like a screensaver. It goes. It's on the screen for ages, and like
it lingers,
just little things. It's like I don't know. There's just little bits that just didn't. It didn't feel. I tell you, it felt like The Exorcist in Haddonfield. That's it. It had that.
No.
Like the whole town felt like like in those opening scenes at the beginning where you've got the family and the town and they've gone missing. If Michael Myers had walked out from behind a tree, would he have looked out of place?
That's actually a really fair point. Well,
I don't know. It just didn't feel like The Exorcist to me.
Yeah. And it's true. It's always interesting because I haven't had time to sit on this at all.
No.
And so like I think that I still liked it. I don't think that that's going to go away, but I noticed as we were talking about it, I was noticing more things that I did because there's some hokey things there. There's some things that really, it's just too, I don't know. But I think that I'll give the next one a shot, just because, I'll keep watching them, I guess. But yeah, the town is like, there's your meme idea for promotion. You just have all the people from this movie and then they're standing in a circle and then you just put "Evil Dies Tonight" at the bottom of the picture.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's going to be some photo edited stuff that I'll be doing where you're going to have Gordon Green stood on the set of The Exorcist with Michael Myers like that behind a tree.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think so. What do you rate this?
This is a 3 out of 10.
Oh, I liked it more than that. I'd give it like a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I think most people are kind of where you are. I'm judging it harshly because this is my subgenre of horror. This is what I
I
love,
know.
and
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of felt like do you know? There's one thing that was probably the nail in the coffin that lost even more points for me. There was not an in memoriam for William Friedkin at the end of this movie, and he
Oh,
died
I
in
didn't even
August,
stay and look. Oh,
which I thought was really. But I mean, William Friedkin said some fucking horrible things about David Gordon Green touching his movie. However,
but still, yeah.
there, I think there should have been an in memoriam, and I waited till the end, and I was
No,
like,
see, I didn't even notice because I got up as soon as it was over. Well, more or less.
yeah,
Because I
no,
had to come home and get ready. So
you
I was
know,
like,
I
gotta
hung on
go.
to the end, and the fact it wasn't there, I kind of, they don't have to do it, but I kind of thought it would have been nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think William Friedkin would have liked his name in the credits to this. He had some choice things of. He said something along the lines of he can't believe that his movie is getting a sequel by the man who made Pineapple Express.
I mean, that's fair. Yeah.
But yeah,
Well, all right. That's our thoughts on The Exorcist Believer.
yeah. Comments to the are just
Yeah.
below if you want to come at me and say this is a great movie. Um,
It seems to be a little divided. It
it,
seems
it,
to
se-
be
it
people are
seems
on
to
both sides
be everything David Gordon Green touches. There is not everyone. He hasn't done a movie where everyone goes, "Yay!" You
That's
get
so true. Except 18. I think Halloween, the first one of the trilogy, I don't know that I know many people that didn't like that one. Do you?
no,
Yeah. But otherwise you're exactly right. Kills super divisive. Ends super divisive. Like at least from the recent stuff. Yeah, I don't yeah, you're right. That's a good point.
yeah.
That's a
I,
good point.
I I hope this gets better, and I want there to I want them to get it right. The Exorcist deserves to have some decent sequels. The Exorcist 2
Yeah.
is terrible.
It's
I quite like the
awful.
Exorcist.
My
I,
God.
I do like the Exorcist 3 though.
3 is good.
Yeah.
3 is really good. Yeah.
So yeah, David Gordon Green, do better.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's all we have for this episode of remakes
Yeah.
and continuations.
We
The Exorcist Believer. Scott, what are we doing on yours next?
have got The Changeling.
The Changeling. My Angel's First
Yes.
Watch. I'd never seen it before.
It actually turned out to be a first watch for me as well. Because
You know,
when I
I
put
was
it,
gonna ask you that because you're like, which one?
yeah, and when I put it on, I was like, I've not seen this before. I've never
Oh,
seen
that's gonna be
this.
such a fun conversation. Okay, can't wait. Okay, so yeah, and then other than that, we yeah, thanks for hanging out with us. We will see you in the next episode of Remix. Have a good one.
Yeah. See you later.